President, nimeona magazeti wakiandika ati kutakuwa na confrontation hapa. There will be no confrontation. This is a solemn occasion. Na tunataka ikuwe na heshima. Kwa sababu kila mtu amekuja hapa amekuja na nia njema. Mimi na watu yangu tumekuja na amani. I am sure. Kwa hivyo nataka kutoa mwelekeo kama kiongozi wa jamii. Nisisikie ngwe. Nisisikie nini? Rais akifika hapa aongee, asikizwe, amalize, aondoke. Tumekubaliana?
This was a show of supremacy from the former Deputy President, where he's sort of setting the stage and you know, first he starts off real nice, that there will be no confrontation. It's sort of like the way a dentist will tell you, this won't hurt a bit, only for it to end up hurting a lot. Sam, first of all, let's remember that this was at a funeral service for a legislator who's passed on. But this is how it began, Sam.
Right, and that there had been a bit of reporting, including the newspapers, talking about what was expected to be a face-off or a showdown, or whatever you may want to call it. But I think you have to give it to the organizers who decided that everyone actually is welcome to the funeral, because you would imagine what would have happened if some people are not allowed to attend that event, whether it's those that support the government or those that support the opposition. But then even the leaders sitting there, all of them, including former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and the MC of the day, the organizers of the day, according him time to speak. And you could have seen when he had been called to speak earlier. But one of our reports was saying that he declined to show up until he thought this
after the
is right
speaker,
in terms of protocol. But yes, so that front row, the entire front row, you could see the leadership of this country, both current and former. And so when Rigathi Gachagua stood to speak and taking the advantage of the situation to sort of show that he has a voice within the Mount Kenya region, I've seen a lot of reactions of people, whether they support Gachagua or they support William Ruto, on the many things that they are saying. But I think listening to Gachagua trying to sort of cement what he believes is his command of the region, when you heard him saying that I do not want anybody to shout at the president, I don't know if there was actually a plan to shout at the president, but I think he was just trying to take the advantage and sort of appear like he's the one who is commanding the people. Please don't shout at the president.
Kingpin of the region.
Exactly. Exactly. And there was also a very dramatic situation at the point that he was speaking, and then the person who was running the program at the time, the governor of Nyandarua, Kerry Badlisha, was sort of standing behind him to signal him time is running. But he goes ahead and says that there cannot be two leaders standing at the same time. Just please take your seat. And he goes ahead to do it. But you could see how much of control he sought to take, even calling his allies, introducing them, saying that this is so and so, this is the leader of this community, that's when I live, he's the one who leads the community here. But I also got confused. There's a place where he's talking about, Mr. President, we love you, we can work with you, but don't send the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah. I really wondered what he exactly meant with that. A man that has spent close to 2 years now, well, it's slightly over 1 year, 6 months, disagreeing with his former boss. And he was keen to remind him that you may have removed me from the job, but you may not remove me from the hearts of these people. So for him to go ahead and say that, please record others from Nyeri, is saying that he's sort of angling himself to be invited for a meeting. So I don't know what this does when it comes to even the conversations within the united opposition, because knowing Rigathi Gachagua, he's not a man that says things without an agenda. So with that statement, I don't know whether it was a slip of the tongue or something that he didn't plan to say.
Yeah, you know, you talk about the attack on Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader in the National Assembly. That was where he started, because he then later, of course, now, you know, he dealt with everybody. It was like, you get a, everybody gets, because it started with Kimani Ichung'wah, then the president, and then the Speaker of the House. But I'd like us to listen to, you know, what he had to say to Kimani Ichung'wah, about Kimani Ichung'wah, who, by the way, says he was mentioned 21, or was it 23?
It went high. Did he say 27 or 28 in Parliament today?
He says he's told it 27 times. I don't know who was counting.
Ile note ilikuwa imesema 21.
Yeah.
It was
you know, it feels like, you remember when we used to do the stats where you do the tally?
Tallying marks.
Yes.
I think it was Ichung'wah 1, 2, 3.
You get to 4, you cross it.
Exactly. Let's listen to Rigathi Gachagua on Kimani Ichung'wah.
Rais, umwambie Kimani Ichung'wah tunaenda Kikuyu Saturday. Amepanga wakora kupiga watu, kuchoma manyumba, kuharibu biashara. Mwambie Kimani Ichung'wah awache hiyo ujinga na utoto, umepitwa na wakati.
Okay, so for context, the reason he's saying that is that the one united opposition will be touring that part of the region over the
this weekend.
Yeah, but then he was not done with Kimani Ichung'wah just yet. In fact, he blames him for quite a lot.
Vijana yako rais, nilikuambia kabla hatujakosana kabisa. Nikakwambia hao vijana utembea na hawa watakuweka kwa shimo. Hawa akina Ichung'wah nilikuambia wataweka kwa shimo. Mimi nilikushauri rais, nikakwambia hawa watu ya mlima hawapendi usaliti. I told you that betrayal is not forgiven among our people. You chose to listen to Kimani Ichung'wah. Sasa hii jamii imekukataa. Na nilikuwa nimekuambia.
Yeah, so this then became, I think, because this was the first time they were on the same platform, at the same venue, and this is the former Deputy President now, you know, sort of laying things out, and we'll talk about, you know, the reactions to that speech. But Jay, first I'd like us to just get an understanding. I mean, he came prepared to say, this is what happened, this was my impeachment, this was, you know, I warned you, I told you. And you notice how he had like different post-it notes from every part of his jacket pocket. Like, I think it was, you know, point number 1, here is one, point number 2, here is another. But this was the most sort of brazen face-to-face meeting that the former Deputy President was having with his former boss, and he took every moment to tell him, you know, alisema ikamtoka.
Alifunguka.
Yeah.
Ali opened the heart.
Rigathi Gachagua walked to that town is called Captain?
Yes.
With the clarity of a marksman. Fingers on the trigger and his targets on sight. And he spent a good, cool 28 minutes aiming without missing. I think he had been preparing for this. He knew this is the one time that I will have to say my truth before God and men. And he delivered. He didn't have anything to lose, but he had everything to prove about his role, first of all, as what he's fashioned himself of late as the kingpin on the mountain, that I hold the keys to these people. And that is why he was emphasizing through and through, telling the president, hawa watu walikupenda lakini saizi hawakutaki. Goes ahead and tells him, awezi nitoa kwa roho ya hawa watu hata kama ulinitoa kwa ofisi. So his speech was carefully crafted so that he says everything he has wanted to say to the president, to the deputy president, to the speaker of the National Assembly, and to Kimani Ichung'wah that he mentioned all those times. And that also gives you a sense of where his pain points are with the president and the people around the president. So for me, he delivered on that score because he needed to remind everybody who cared to listen that I am the one who dictates and determines the politics of this region. That you removed me from office, and by the way, you thought I'd disappear in a few days, but here I am, still flourishing. So he needed that moment to remind these people and also deliver his agenda. So for me, I saw a gentleman that was fully prepared, because I don't think he's invited in another setting that has President William Ruto.
He will never get another chance. And deliver he did. Like you said, he had nothing to lose and everything to prove. And this was his one moment and he wasn't going to waste it. Jamila, I'm coming to you. But I want us to listen because when he was done with Kimani Ichung'wah, now he addressed his former boss directly, starting by how they voted for him, and he reminded him who he is.
Sisi tukikuchagua wewe, huku unaitwa Kamau, huku unaitwa Joroge, ulikuwa unaitwa William Kipchirchir Arap Ruto, si ndio? Na tukaupatia kura ze.
And he didn't stop there. He also told him, you know, he's been called tribalist quite a bit. He had something to say about that.
Sisi ni wa kabila, unatuumiza kwa roho. Na kuomba from today, my brother William Ruto, ukienda kwa Wajaluo, hapana tukana sisi ati sisi ni wa kabila. We are not tribal. Tulikuchagua, you are not a Kikuyu. Tukakupatia kura zetu. Tafadhali na kuomba, going forward, don't abuse our community.
And he went on to have some advice to the president on how to do his job.
Tulikupenda, tulikuheshimu na tulikuchagua, na hata kama tuko na shida na wewe tutatatua huko mbele wakati ya uchaguzi. Saa hii wewe iko kwa kiti, endelea kutufanyia ile utaweza.